Everyone knows that feeling, wanting to experience more stories, but struggling to find the time. That's where Audible changes everything. With over 1 million audiobooks and Audible originals, there's a story waiting to spark anyone's imagination. Take The Paris Apartment by Lucy Foley, the gripping psychological thriller that's keeping listeners on the edge of their seats. Imagine unraveling its mysteries during your morning commute, or losing yourself in its twists and turns while doing household chores. That's the magic of Audible. It transforms daily routines into opportunities for thrilling discoveries. The best part? Members get access to thousands of included titles, with new content added regularly. From bestsellers to hidden gems, every genre imaginable is at their fingertips. And with one easy-to-use app, switching between favorites or discovering new passions has never been simpler. There's more to imagine when you listen. Start a free 30-day Audible trial and get your first audiobook free at audible.com/Wondery. That's audible.com/Wondery.
Now it's time for Inspirational Women and my guest, Rupa Mehta, a teacher, entrepreneur, author, fitness expert, and wellness pioneer. She's the creator of the Nalini Method and founder of the nonprofit Nalini Kids, both based on Rupa's wellness philosophy that true health is achieved by being both emotionally and physically fit. Rupa is also the creator of Upa's World of Words that focuses on reaching kids in early childhood and is to be used by teachers and parents alike. Rupa joins us now to share insights. Rupa Mehta, good morning. Thank you so greatly for being with us this morning.
Oh, I am so excited to be here, Kate. I'm really honored that you've taken interest in my work and our mission.
Well, I would say what's not to get interested in. I think it's just so critical to really impart the work that you are doing. And as I became aware of it really within the last couple of weeks, I thought, oh, here's just this great wave of hope, this breath of great inspiration for our kids, because it starts with kids. If we get a good foundation in education and awareness with the youngsters, then there's just so much more hope for our future, isn't there?
Oh, well, first of all, thank you. I appreciate that. I mean, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old, and I think the habits that I demonstrate in front of them, the things I model, what I expose them to. I had an appreciation before when I built this nonprofit and this education program, but even having my own kids now, it's like everything is contagious, good or bad behavior and good or bad choices. And it's sometimes it's not as simple as good or bad. There's nuance and layers, and these things take time to understand. So anything that can kind of slow our students down to physically and emotionally connect to themselves is well worth the effort.
Oh, absolutely. I don't know that there's really a greater effort. Again, that real focus on young children, because, I mean, literally, we talk about them being sponges. They truly are. And so it's so critical that what we share with them and teach them and guide them, it is what is going to really help them to grow and be, these really vibrant, vital, engaged young people, adults.
Yes. And I think, so much, everyone has so many different opinions about their own personal education choices. We're obviously in an election year and at large, but on a very basic level, I think most parents can agree that their students or their children at home have much more of a sedentary lifestyle, and that the ability to move and that be incorporated, whether it be at school or at home, is welcome. And to kind of impart onto children the excitement to move and move their emotions and move their feelings and move their bodies is really important now more than ever, because we are just bombarded with so much stimuli constantly, whether it's advertisements, conversations, music, and there's so much stimuli around us, but giving ourselves as adults the space to process it is hard, and let alone for our children. I think of my daughter going to camp. I'm like, she interacts with more people and more situations in a day than I do right now. And, giving her the time to process that is important.
So we have your real engagement here and what you have developed with UPA Kids and the videos and really relating to kids on their level. And you're talking about the movement. I mean, it's visual, it's movement, it's sound, really bringing in vocabulary so that we're really reaching kids. I mean, when I think of children today versus me as a kid, it's truly a world of difference. Life was so much different at that time, for me in the 50s and the 60s. So now, I mean, with all the media that's available, so what you're doing is using what we have, these resources, but really focusing in on the young children.
Yeah, I mean, our premise is that we are weighed down as a society by the weight of words, words that we either hear other people speaking, words we say to ourselves, words we read on newspapers, advertisements. And so if you think of words as like stimuli that is bombarding you and you don't know how to move and kind of navigate that, then we should incorporate a word movement. And so the idea is like you hear the word election, or you hear the word democracy, or you hear the word kind. As a young child, being able to have the opportunity to get a 360-degree view of that word and how it affects you physically and emotionally can really help you in your life. And I think words weigh us down, words lift us up at any age. And so our kind of, I guess, our winning signature thing at this, nonprofit has been word movements. And we've done it for high school students, middle school students, elementary school students, and now we've launched this preschool, YouTube show, Upa's World of Words, where Upa is this character who gets a word every day and she moves the word. It affects her emotionally. She tries to process it. So she was always met with a guest, which was very important to us because a lot of kids programming, when we started to get in the weeds with this, we felt was lacking some human interaction and interaction with adults of different ages and children of different ages. So we wanted that to be an important piece. So UPA grapples with the word of the day with a guest, and then they decide to move together and they move the word. So for example, like the democracy workout, which is, it's hot on my mind right now because we have this election collection. The democracy workout is like a sit-up routine where I say my way, your way. We go back and forth, and we try to embody the meaning of the word. The conversation workout is like we talk about being on a seesaw. That's like a prop. Every emotion, every word has a prop associated to it. And we have a dialogue, and then we move that word. So the conversation workout's just very fun. We stretch, we listen with our eyes, we listen with our ears, and we move our body and get ourselves right for listening.
And this is so huge. You're mentioning let's see, it's the election collection, yes, where you talk about democracy and citizenship and conversation and compromise. And as you were saying, this seesaw. And that is so honoring, I think, of kids. When I was a kid, I don't know that we even thought about anything in terms of elections. But now, because of 24/7 media around us, it makes sense. And kids are just, I think they're more sophisticated in that way, or just more aware. So to really address this, and it is really important to our whole life to understand this, I think it's one of the greatest gifts that you could be sharing with us.
Thank you. I mean, I feel, it's hard because it's a struggle, because sometimes you're like, you don't want to be having these big election conversations with really young children, but it might be entering their world because of, like you said, the 24/7 news cycle, but you want to keep it age appropriate. And so how do we do that? How do we empower teachers and parents to feel that they can tackle words that are in the zeitgeist right now, but in a way that feels that it meets students and children in a way that feels nostalgic of kind of an innocent time and a time to process things, and it doesn't feel that it's agenda driven. That on a basic level, what is a democracy about? On a basic level, how do you have a conversation? On a basic level, is a citizen just merely, paperwork you check off, or is it about following the rules, being part of a community? And so being able to empower parents with their children to have fun with these words, I think is a big driving force of this curriculum as well.
And that's the thing. I mean, it's really interesting for parents geared toward children, but with parents being involved, it really is a great way to have a conversation and just for kids children to really have that connection with their parents.
Oh, it's great. I mean, we've been teaching this program in schools. We've piloted it in a couple preschools, and we've gotten such great feedback where the parents are getting involved, the teachers are getting involved, the children are getting excited about spelling and about words. You know, every single episode, I'm Upa, the character spells out the word, has had the children repeat the word and guess what maybe the word means, and so all these little things make such a difference and taking the time to do them. And when you fully understand a word and make that a personal experience, and when you move in your body, the meaning of the word gets retained. It's a stickier concept. You know, if I'm trying to teach a 5-year-old how to have a conversation, maybe how to have the back and forth listening, that, you know, and if I'm talking about it, it's very different than if I show a prop of a seesaw and an up and down, and then I do some type of fun seesaw conversation workout. All of a sudden, you know, that 5-year-old or 6-year-old, all the way up to like 8-year-olds for this program in particular, can think, yeah, I'm in a conversation with somebody, and they can think about the seesaw. They can think about how that feels in their body. And that's a great way to kind of have these concepts feel long lasting.
It's such a gift for children. I think about, regardless of whether someone is more of an introvert and is very shy, or whether they're really outgoing and gregarious, you're able to find kind of more of that middle of the road so that each is going to have an opportunity to have a conversation, to connect in such a way that really sees each other, really allows them that space.
Oh, you know, when you're speaking, it makes me think of it. We have this one word workout, the nervous workout. And we have Chief Rick, who's amazing. And he's the guest on the show that day. And the guest is always asked, you know, what prop comes to mind when you think of this word? And so I say to Chief Rick, you know, what comes to mind? And he says his radio for his fire station. And he gets calls on the radio, and sometimes he gets nervous about what's going to happen. But then he says he knows he's prepared to deal with it. And then it also shows students and children that being nervous doesn't all of a sudden go away just because you're grown up. And that's a feel like you might have different coping mechanisms. And so I think really demonstrating how these emotions can come to life, and giving coping strategies that feel universal, it's really fun for students.
And that is a great way to approach it too. Having the fun, the kind of the just play involved with it. I think when we're relaxed like that, we learn more. We learn better, don't we?
Oh, 100%. You know, when you move your body, you can definitely move your mind more easily. And I always think of Mr. Rogers, as so many people do in the early childhood space, and just that feeling of play and lightness can go really a long way. And a lot of the content that's out there right now feels a bit manic or not lacking play. It feels like more adult-like fun sometimes. And I think that play in its purest form can come very easily when you're just having a conversation where you listen to each other and explore one single concept, that it doesn't have to feel forced. And so just the nature of the conversation between Upa and the guest and them doing a workout together, it's very fun. And the set is really dynamic. And so it's definitely a memorable sequence, and every single video has the same sequence, you know, the introduction of the word, meeting the guest, processing the word, doing the movement, and then Upa then reflects on the word later. And so that rhythm is really well suited for this age group.
And so that they are more anticipating what's going to happen. And as they anticipate, though, they also have that understanding. So there's a way that, again, there's an honoring, which I think is so important with children, just to respect who they are in their place. So that is really key, and I think probably helps them to learn that much better as well.
I definitely agree with you. And, you know, this idea that we used to always ask students, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And as a society, I think we're going more in the direction of who are you now and what can you teach us? But we want students to have a voice, but we also want them to learn how to listen and have that back and forth. Not everything from the past is bad and not everything right now is good. And having that balance and having programming and content that really embodies the things that we loved before about Sesame Street, Mr. Rogers, these type of shows, and marrying it with where we are now and understanding the realities of our society and the progress we've made. I think this show hopefully really marries those two desires together.
So it is being used in classrooms, but I think it's predominantly more East Coast. Is that right, Rupa?
Yes, it is
Yeah.
predominantly more East Coast. We're launching, the goal is to take it nationwide. We've started out with schools on the East Coast, and we have a game plan to kind of expand over this next year. And then hopefully parents are going to be growing with that growth process as well. And we have a couple researchers that are going to be researching the program because we've already seen such traction. So it's an exciting time. I feel we really wanted to build something that we would want our own children to watch, and put a vegetable in this kind of diet, this sometimes unhealthy diet of children's content. We wanted to put a vegetable out there, and I think we feel proud that we did that.
It is amazing, and it is being used in schools, so we're seeing that it has that foundation. Teachers, I can't imagine but love it, because it really helps to have, I don't know, there's kind of like this evening out of a playing field that kids come at it and take from it what they can at that point, but you can go back and again revisit, and it's different.
Yes. No, and I think, what we're doing here is combining literacy, movement, and life skills. And that's being packaged together in a way that gives the parent or the teacher a jumping off point to other things. Like the lessons kind of continue beyond the processing of the content in the moment. And so we've seen great traction in the schools, and we're excited to grow more words. We piloted with 100 words. We filmed 100 words last year, over the summer, and we interviewed teachers and parents about what words that they wanted. And so we aligned 30% of the words are feelings words like happy, nervous, angry. 30% of them are scenario words like cooperate, compromise. 30% are creative curriculum words, which creative curriculum is a large preschool to second grade program, implemented nationwide at various schools. And so those words are like gardening, light, the things that children are being taught about at that age. And then 10% of the words are something that feels timely in the moment. So especially for this election year, it's civics words felt very timely. So that's why we did democracy, citizen, voice, leader. And so together we've packaged 100 words, and we're slowly releasing them on YouTube. So they're free. They're available for anyone to use at any time. And then we have a book associated to it, Upa's World of Words, where it's a nice little character book where this whole world kind of comes to life. And that's available on our website as well.
So mentioning that there is a website, let's say what that is.
Okay, so upasworldofwords.org. So it's OOPAS world, WORLD of OF words, WORDS.org. At Upa's World of Words, you can get access to the election collection. You have the link there to our YouTube channel, and you can see the book there. And our YouTube channel, if you just search Upa's World of Words, will pop right up. And then our main educational nonprofit's website is nalinikids.org, NALINIKIDS. And that's where you can find all our programming from pre-K all the way to 12th grade, because like I mentioned before, we have word workouts and curriculum for all age levels. Nalini is my mom. It was named after my late mom, this nonprofit. I wanted to name it after her. She was emotionally the healthiest person I've ever met. And she I feel like set me up for success in life. And so if we can, as an organization, give that type of nurturing and challenge that my mom, I feel like, gave to me, I felt blessed with, that feels like a real win for us. So the hope is that our curriculum really feels like a home cooked, good, nurturing meal for your child.
That is so beautiful. And how really, what a gift to honor your mother in this way. I mean, she sounds amazing. She has this daughter, you, who's creating all this. So it's kind of obvious, what she has brought to the world. And so I think this is an important point, that this is the nonprofit side of it, the foundation, where, of course, being a nonprofit, these things don't just kind of fall out of the sky. You're not getting, funding from any kind of government resources. So for us to be aware of what's happening and that we can be part of it, I think is really great. And we can do that at nalinikids.org, right?
Yes, yes. I mean, we really pride ourselves on acting like we don't have finances as a barrier to entry for schools or for parents to engage in our programming. So we have a lot of free programs. But so we're a small hustling team, and we're always open to donations. Even $5, $1 donations really make a big difference. And if you feel that our content is something that you and your family enjoy, we'd love to hear about it. And we'd love to actually, personally connect with, it's in those personal connections and hearing feedback from our users that really helps make the content better and better.
Oh, absolutely. This is so incredible. Again, it just feels like there's just so much hopefulness and hope surrounding all that you're doing, and it really sharing, imbuing into the future, so that that it feels brighter and just much more informed.
Oh, I feel very hopeful for the future. I feel everyone, in at least on a one-on-one conversation, I feel like really for the most part wants a lot of the same things. They want their kids to be happy. They want to feel healthy. They want to practice good habits. And I think making sure that we keep that at the forefront of our content choices sometimes can feel hard because you have a busy day or you're overwhelmed. But if we can kind of make content choices that align to our values, I think that we will really benefit as a society. Because, a lot of people say they want to give their children better content or do things that, require some reflection, but they just don't know where to find it, or they just feel overwhelmed in changing a pattern that's already been alive and done well in the home, And so I think that hopefully this content speaks for itself when you check out the words and you see how kind of full the experience can be.
And that's the thing. We were saying how, this has been evolving more on the East Coast because that's where you are. But again, here's where all that we have in terms of having access to the internet makes it available for us to use wherever we are. Here on the West Coast, I know we can access it easily and see what is going on, use it independently, bring it to our schools and make them aware and really make it grow.
For sure. I mean, I spent most of my time growing this nonprofit in New York City. I now live in Bucks County, Pennsylvania, and I really pride myself on the fact that this organization and our content really speaks to so many different types of users: rural schools, urban schools, private schools, home schools, parents of older kids, parents of younger kids. And we have really tried our best at having a voice that feels universal, approachable, and age appropriate, and keeping our goals very simple and not getting caught up in really any trends. That all of us use words, we're bombarded by words. Let's simply move the word in our body and coming up with innovative ways on how to do that.
And the words, as you've shared with us, are words that, when we think of the early ages, you mentioned you have a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, so they're right into this, more probably the 5-year-old, but still the exposure at that young age to words that are not just, I think back to, with me, it was Dick and Jane run and walk and that sort of thing. Here, we're really talking about substance.
No, you think of like a word like empathy that, who
Yes.
doesn't want to have an empathetic child or have empathy, modeled to them in their lives. So, for that one, the Upa character, processes the word empathy and she walks into a table and on the table are two sets of shoes, shoes from her friend Geraldine, who's a teacher, and shoes from her friend Nono, who is a builder. And then the workout is that she ends up walking in the shoes of Nono the builder, and she has to nail things into the wall. It's a hot, sweaty day. She's worked so hard on building things. She's felt alone at times and not able to share. She walks into her teacher's shoes and she's speaking all day. She goes home tired. And so it's like a very fun aspect that's brought to this idea of empathy. And then this idea of like, empathy is like walking in someone else's shoes. And so visually, it really comes to life. And you take this big word and you make it really practical and feel age appropriate.
Yes, and not only that, but when a word like empathy, it's so critical to who we are and being able to relate in the world. So what a gift to start really sharing that with kids at a young age, that it really becomes a part of them.
Agree.
Yeah.
And I think that even building this habit of saying, words warrant digestion, that they warrant understanding the dictionary definition of a word. They warrant understanding what's your own personal experience of the word. My interpretation of empathy might be different than your interpretation. So having that feel a part of life and that people have different interpretations, appreciating that early on in life, I think will make you better able to have harder conversations later and say, okay, this is your view, this is my view. How can we actually still continue the conversation? And then how can we move and actually go to the next step here and not just sit
Yeah.
with our emotions, like actually, we sit with them, but we also can move them in our body too. And I think building that habit early on for children can really have a profound payoff as they get older.
And part of it, of course, is that I think we mentioned this early on, or you mentioned it, Rupa, about being so sedentary. Getting to move, and it's just really an important exercise or experience because young children, as they start walking and really getting acquainted with their world, are moving. So then, too soon they get sedentary. So just to keep this going,
keep that alive.
Yes.
I agree. A lot of the children's content, you put on a 10-minute segment, a 15-minute segment of something, and our videos are really short and sweet. We have really 5 to 7-minute videos. We have some videos that have been strung together so we can have like a 15 to 20-minute collection. So a child might go through 4 words in one sitting if you had like kind of the use of 20 minutes. But the idea is that you like learn a word, a full concept every time, and that you could bring that to the dinner table at night. You can like really go deeper on like, what are all the different interpretations of this word? What's the prop that comes to mind for everyone in this house? I mean, the hope is to really impact the student's habits, the child's habit, and a family habit of saying like, how do we process things in this family? How do we process and use our words? I mean, my dream would be to be on PBS one day. With this show because
Yes.
I think I love PBS. I love the content, and it's only natural that we've entered in this very animated space, and we have some like human real life characters. But I think this idea of saying like, hey, we could have this sedentary thing, this TV screen, but we could use it to kind of share movement with literacy. I think it's a winning combo.
It absolutely is. And PBS is truly the logical place. Sesame Street was there, right? Mr. Rogers. So to have this be part of it, it's just the more contemporary version of all that had gone on at that time. Right?
I agree. I love the way you just put that. That would really be the hope because I think I could open the newspaper every day and I see a study about screen time and about being sedentary and our health habits with students. And we know the realities of screen time. We know the realities of attention spans. And I think that weaving in movement and literacy and the fact that we live in this world of words, I think is an important connection to be made at this point in time.
Yes, absolutely. And just with the brief number of words we've touched on, and especially with mentioning the election collection as well, it's just so amazing. So let's repeat again where people can access all this great content.
Sure. Okay. oopasworldofwords.org is the website. It's OOPAS, worldofwords.org. And you can access the book and the YouTube channel from there and the election collection. You could also go straight to our YouTube channel, Upa's World of Words on YouTube, and you'll have access to all the words and the election collection. Like I said, we're dropping words kind of every couple weeks, and we have 100 words, and the hope is to film more and more. And then our parent organization is the educational nonprofit Nalini Kids, where we have content ranging from pre-K all the way through 12th grade on different word workouts and different emotional and physical workouts that could help students at various ages.
Oh, just such amazing and critically important work for all of us, because it impacts all of us, but starting where it really counts with this young age. So I am so grateful for your vision, for your mother, Rupa, and that really all that you're doing, that you've spent time with us today. I'm so grateful. Thank you so greatly.
Thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to share. Clearly, I'm very passionate, and linking up with a fellow educator and someone who really appreciates the intentionality behind this. It really makes a difference. It helps drive people like me who work in the nonprofit space and in education. It's these bursts of energy that give me great joy. So I don't take for granted you saying what you've said about the program. I really appreciate it.
It's truly amazing. So important. So thank you greatly, Rupa Mehta.
Thank you. Thank you.
That brings us to the end of a very full hour of Inspirational Women with Rupa Mehta and Sunday Morning Magazine with Mary Chung Hayashi. I'm Kate Daniels, your host, and I greatly appreciate your sharing this hour with me and these special guests. For details you might have missed or information you'd like to know, please just send me an email, kated@warm1069.com, and I will get right back to you. Also, if you'd like to listen again or share these important stories with your family and friends, find the podcast on our Warm 1069 webpage. Just click on the Listen tab, then the podcasts, and then either the show names, and then look for the guest names. I now wish you and your family a day of good connection, sharing stories and encouragement. Have a week of the same, and then please plan to join me again next weekend for another hour of Sunday Morning Magazine and Inspirational Women on Warm 1069. Good morning.